used to be on drugs. I did drugs. I had to deal drugs. I even had to deal drugs. And I was so good at it that it got me more drugs.
Hey, how's it going? It's your boy Agent Psycho, aka ToSniper98. It's been a while since my last serious vid that's not stream VODs or gotcha salt, so let's get back into the groove of things with another meme, this time on the only 5-star American in this game because DW hates an A, Nikola Tesla. And even then he was born in Serbia and then moved here, so I guess he's Serbian-American. And no, Karna from the 3rd anniversary promotional bullshit doesn't count. And why am I doing a video on a 5-star servant who's not a hot waifu? Well...
This is so sad. Alexa, play Despacito.
Alright, let's move on. Nicki Minaj is, like I said, a 5-star archer who debuted with the London Singularity, though he's a story-locked servant, so good luck rolling for him in the purgatory known as Story Gacha if he's not on Rate Up. Quick trivia here, he's also the youngest servant in FGO just in terms of how modern a servant he is compared to everybody else. At level 90, Nuka-Cola has 13,825 HP and 11,781 attack, and with full grails, those go up to 15,146 HP and 12,896 attack. He's got standard Archer class MP and Star Gen, 0.87% MP charge on attack, 3% MP charge on defense, 31.5% death rate, and he is chaotic good. He's got a near automata deck with a Buster NP. His quick card hits 3 times, his arts cards hit twice, his buster cards hit once, and his extra attack hits 3 times. This means that Tesla's got good MP gen with his 2 arts cards and his MP gen stat, and can produce a decent number of crit stars with the Brave Chain, though really for only one teammate, which is usually himself too, since he's an archer. Unless a writer's hogging all of them. Note that while Tesla doesn't have a lot of traits, he does have the Brynhilder's Beloved trait, and he's obviously a guy. So if you ever run into an enemy Tesla as a boss servant at some point, whether the real one or just a shadow servant version of him, you know who to bring to kick his ass. Nicolas Cage's first skill is Galvanism A, which increases his own MP generation by 30 to 50% for 3 turns on a 7 to 5 turn cooldown. If you thought Tesla's MP gen was good enough as it was, this skill makes it go even further beyond, since it's one of the best, if not the best, self-MP generation buffs so far in the game, depending on how much of a Gil fanboy you are. This skill is what helps turn Tesla into an MP spammer despite having a Buster NP, because with this skill active and a Star Gen, Tesla can more or less supercharge his MP, which actually makes a whole lot of sense. His second skill is Natural Born Genius A, which grants himself Guts once for 3 turns that revives him with between 1,000 and 3,000 HP if he goes down, and gives him an 80% chance both to increase his own defense for 3 turns and increase his own MP damage for 1 turn, both between 20 to 30%, all on a 7 to 5 turn cooldown. This skill gets a buff later on, specifically during JP's 2nd anniversary event, if I'm not mistaken, but because we're NA, we may get that buff a little bit faster, who knows. That not only increases his MP damage buff duration from 1 to 3 turns, but it also gives him a guaranteed self-attack buff from 10 to 20%, like a little small consolation prize if you get bad luck and don't get the MP damage buff active because the game hates you or something. Keep in mind that this skill is like Skyhawk's evade skill that I discussed in her video, where Tesla's defense and MP damage buffs are independent of each other, so you can end up popping one but not the other. Though in my experience, the defense buff seems to activate way more consistently than the MP damage buff because the game's a fucking troll. Maybe you guys feel the same way. This skill gives Tesla a good chunk of utility by giving him survivability in its guts and defense buff, and DPS in its MP damage buff and attack buff post-interlude. And because of the MP damage buff extension that the Strengthening Quest gives, Natural Born Genius also has synergy with Galvanism because you can potentially fire off back-to-back NPs that are both buffed by the MP damage buff. But perhaps arguably the best part about the skill is that with everything it comes with, it's only got a 7 to 5 turn cooldown. For reference, there are skills out there that only give you the 20% attack buff and also have a 7 to 5 turn cooldown. Charisma. So yeah, make sure you level this, it's pretty good. His third skill is Pioneer of the Stars, which charges his own MP gauge by between 30 to 50%, gives him Invul Pierce for 3 turns, and generates 10 stars, all on an 8 to 6 turn cooldown. In case you couldn't tell with all the Drakes people have on their support lists, Pioneer of the Stars is a pretty dank skill, and in a good way. A 50% battery is every farmer's best friend, and the Invul Pierce and the 10 stars that come with it, when you activate it, can also come in quite handy at times too. The 10 stars especially is pretty nifty if your team generates a handful of stars and you happen to have a Tesla Brave Chain the next turn. In my opinion, you should level Pioneer first, then Genius, and then Galvanism, but this is mainly because I'm a farmer at heart and I jerk myself off over anything that's got a 50% battery. Except for Tristan's battery skill because that thing is fucking stupid. If you're not necessarily planning on using Tesla for farming and are looking to use him more as a general battle archer, or DPS archer as I would say, then level Genius first. His passive skills are Magic Resist C, which increases his own debuff resistance by 15%, and Independent Action B, which increases his own crit damage by 8%. The usual skills to see here on an archer, nothing unique or fancy about him, so let's move on. Rick's NP is System Cronus, which, besides the fact that I'm butchering the pronunciation, which I always do, is a Buster AoE MP that deals 300 to 500% damage depending on MP level, has a 30% chance to stun each enemy, meaning that the stun chances are calculated individually per enemy that's on the field that gets hit, but damages Tesla by 500 HP when he uses his MP. It also has a special damage mod as its overcharge effect, which deals additional 150 to 200% damage against enemy servants with the Earth or Sky attributes, depending on overcharge level. Post-interlude, it deals 400 to 600% damage and has a 40% chance to stun each enemy instead. Besides the fact that it's obviously a great farming NP, System Cronus gives Tesla a competitive edge in the current JP meta with its special damage mod, which makes Tesla pretty good against a good chunk of servants in the game. Specifically against these guys you see here. And there's a bunch of them, so Tesla's going to be a strong choice against them if you run into any of them as a boss. I'd advise against relying on the stun chance on the MP though. I'd recommend just treating it as a pure bonus effect and use Tesla as if he never had the stun on his MP in the first place. If it goes off and Tesla manages to stun people, that's great. If not, then just keep operating as usual. Don't work around the stun unless you're stuck in a situation where you really don't have a choice, and that stun is quite literally your last possible lifeline in a fight. In which case, just let RNGesus take the wheel. Also, I know that Sobroni said in his own review on Tesla that the 500 HP demerit is pretty much negligible, but while he's right most of the time, I'd just like to remind you all that FGO is a game of inches, and it's not as if Tesla himself has a fuck ton of health, like Lancer Oratoria for example, so be mindful of the demerit in case you're using Tesla in a challenge fight somewhere, because you never know if that 500 HP that he, chunks himself with every time he fires off his MP could come back and bite you. Oh, and speaking of the demerit, one thing about it is that the wiki doesn't explicitly mention that Tesla's HP demerit won't kill him by using his MP, which leads me to believe that Tesla's MP can actually kill him if he's got 500 or less HP. This hasn't happened to me yet personally, but again, just keep that in mind before you go kamikaze him, potentially. So looking at his whole kit, you can put Thanos to work as a farmer, a crit archer, an MP spammer, or a boss slayer. He's a great farmer because he's got Pioneer, which is a 50% battery, and everybody loves 50% batteries, and a Buster AoE MP, and his Genius skill gives him both an MP damage buff and a flat attack buff post-interlude. And while he doesn't have any crit buffs except for his passive skill, he does work well as a crit archer anyway, just because of his archer class star weight, and he's got good enough attack rating to make it work. This also overlaps with the whole MP spammer thing because crits double your MP gain, and Tesla's got both Galvanism and 2 arts cards, making spamming his MP very easy under ideal circumstances. And in case you need a bit extra help charging his MP, Pioneer's got you covered. So in other words, if you want to spam Tesla's MP, you might as well go the extra step and turn him into a crit archer anyway. And thanks to his MP's special damage mod against Earth or Sky servants, he's also got potential as a boss slayer, so make sure to give him plenty of support to make his job easier for when those times come. Just keep in mind that because Tesla has virtually no team support utility and has such good potential as a crit archer and MP spammer, you don't really have a choice but to focus your strategies around him if you decide to bring him along. Which fits the character, I suppose. Oh, and speaking of team comps... For team comps, give my cousin Nico, anyone who isn't named Roman. Well, you don't need to ever worry about him, so I guess that's fine. Spoilers aside, the kind of support that you give Tesla depends on how you want to build him. For just normie DPS archer stuff, give him the usual, Waver, Hans, or anyone with charisma or other attack buffs. The more support he has, the better Go tanks will perform, so run double support on him if you're able. For crit archer Tesla, give him a Stargen and a standard support. And again, reminder that Tesla has no party buffs of his own, so make sure to build around him since you're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't. Unless you're just going out farming with him or something. Interestingly enough, the Edison, Tesla, and Helena meme actually works better than you might expect. The fact that both Helena and Edison have Stargen skills is pretty damn convenient. But the problem with this team is that no one has any health regen, so it's going to be a bit tough keeping them all alive. So I guess go ask DW if they can give Tesla a 3rd strengthening quest to give his Galvanism skill a heal or something, because I think it should have a heal, like just lore-wise. And now that he's out in NA, Ozzy is a solid support choice too for Tesla, since Protection from Raw, even at level 1, will guarantee Tesla's defense and MP damage buffs. So, if you can pair them together, try them out and see how well they do for you. As with anybody, your choice of CE solidifies what kind of role you want your electric card to have. For DPS, go for Elzio or Sumo. For crit memes, Victor, Atumbra, or any decent crit CE. If you're planning to bring other archers or riders with Tesla, Seal Designation Enforcer isn't a bad idea either. For MP damage, Heaven's Feel, Halloween Princess, or Gudao for both MP damage and crits, or Black Rail for memes or for super farming. Speaking of farming, because Tesla's got Pioneer, anything with a 50% starting charge is your best friend. Well, unless you're a whale and you have K-Scope. And if you're trying to farm medals at Sovereign Castle, consider the Waver and Black Rail Tesla combo to help you one-shot one of the waves in case you don't have access to a Super Gil or Super Arjuna. His own max bond CE, Hand of Lightning, increases party MP damage by 20% when he's on the field. Unfortunately, Tesla's got the same problem here as Mordred in that his max bond CE is literally the only thing in his entire kit that's a party buff. Or in other words, his only reliable support utility, so I'd recommend just focusing on his own damage instead. Emperor Palpatine is a flexible archer who fills a lot of roles and does all of them very well. He can farm, he can crit, he can MP spam, he can buster meme, and he can slay boss servants if they've got either Earth or Sky attributes. Just don't have him support anybody because the only thing he's ever going to support is his own big head and ego. He's basically a servant who fits very snugly and smugly into the future Buster Memeland meta, which more or less secures his viability throughout the course of the game. While I hesitate to put him on the same tier as, say, Arrogant Fuckboy, Tesla's probably your next best SSR Archer option after him for the foreseeable future. Unless Napoleon ends up being better than him somehow, but I think I'll leave that for the JP guys to figure out. And that's all you need to know about Bon Scott. Minus the whole drinking thing. No Twitter poll again because y'all should know who the next video is gonna be on. Thanks for watching, and sorry again for forgetting to put Tesla on the how to use every 5-star in the game video that I put out last time before going off to Anime Expo. And hopefully I won't leave him out again in the next one that I make. Deuces!